Hi Jen, happy birthday. I'm going to show you today how to make a bowl koozie. And I'm also sending you a kit so that you'll have these things to be able to make it too. So these are bowl koozies. This is what I'm going to be showing you how to make. So basically you microwave your food. I don't put these in the microwave. You microwave your food in a bowl and then it's hot, so you don't want to hold it because the bowl is super hot. So you put it in this koozie and then you can, hold it easier without burning yourself or anything. Even like ice cream, if it's cold to hold, you could use this. They're reversible also, so you can turn them inside out the other way. So yeah. Okay, product haul. This is a cutting mat that you can use this wheel. It's kind of like a pizza cutter to cut fabric on, and this will self-heal. And because you can't use this like on a table, it'll cut holes on the table. So you put this down and then you can safely cut things. And this is like a big clear ruler that you can use as a guide. But I also got you some smaller sizes, square sizes that you can use, especially for this project. I also got you some 100% cotton fabrics, some cool dye patterns, and then some 100% cotton thread. These are to make sure that they're not going to melt if they're like polyesters. When things get hot, the plastic fabrics can of course melt. And then when you're making the bowl koozies, you need something that is for the inside batting, you need something that's 100% cotton and of course is okay to be hot. Okay, so I made a template out of just an old grocery bag, and then I liked it so much that I actually bought these are supposed to be cutting mats from the Dollar Tree, but I use them to put patterns on that I want to keep using, reusing. And so this is my template, my pattern for this bowl, how we'll be using it. And I'm making one for you, so you'll have it. If you're curious, this pattern piece was made by first cutting a 10 inches by 10 inches square and then folding it up, and this is cut off a triangle here of 1 inch by 2 inches, and then same with here, but this way is 1 inch by 2 inches, and then just curving the edge. I found that I like the edge curved on these bowl koozies better because the pointed edge tended to like get in our food and stuff, and so the curve just kind of stays away better. It's still a nice little spot to grab it at, and yeah. So I will be putting this one in your package. Okay, the first step in any project is almost always going to be to actually iron the fabric. I'm making sure that I'm using 100% cotton fabrics here. And yes, I've got some Gilmore Girls fabrics that I found online. That is this place that you can actually put your own designs on. Although I didn't do this, some other people did. And because the person I'm making this for loves Gilmore Girls. And we went to a Gilmore Girls event earlier this month. So it should be really cute. Okay, the next step is then to cut out your fabric. I'm gonna cut off, mine has this white edge to it where the print stops, so I'm gonna cut that off. And then I'm gonna use this to cut, so I'll have a straight edge here and a straight edge here. We use this also as a guide so you can line it up, and then you use this tool to find, this will be, so I have it at the 10 here and the 10 here, so that I can cut this after I've cut that part up. I just can't do it right now holding this because you do need to use one hand to hold this so it doesn't move and the other hand to use this. This is the cutting rotary wheel, press that down, and then it's ready to cut and to put it back away. Always never set it down like that. Always press this button and put it away before setting it down, just for safety. And yeah, so this is ready to cut, and these wheels in here are replaceable. So there's, like, if it starts getting dull, there's plenty of, the brand sells a bunch of replacement wheels that you can just swap out. You need 2 fabrics, one for the inside and one for the outside of the bowl. So 2 fabrics, and then between the 2 will be the batting. So cut out 2 10 by 10 fabric squares. You also need to cut out the batting. You don't have to be very exact with this, but again, your one hand is pressing here and the other hand is having this guide along. Sorry, you need 2 batting squares for your project, one for each side. And then the next step here is that you need to draw a line from corner to corner and from corner to corner. So making a big X on your fabric. Do this with something that's washable, like those markers I got you that are, you just wash them off with water, or I'm just going to use my chalk pencils because they'll come off probably in the ironing process. You just want to pick a color that will show up on your fabric. A lot of times white will show up on the dark, especially dark fabrics. And you can use this guide here on your board, because if you line up your corner here, this line is going to be perfectly even. And I will just then line that up here. And then you can use your ruler here along that line and draw your X, because that's what we're going to sew along onto the batting. We're going to sew these 2 things together and these 2 things together. This is my other side. So I'm going to sew an X on here and an X on here. So I'm just drawing it first. For this, I decided that I don't care if the stitches show, so I'm just using a blue, and it'll kind of go with some fabrics and not others, but that's okay. I don't want to keep changing the thread, because that's kind of annoying. But to review, I have drawn an X in something washable, and I'm going to sew it to this. So I've got 1 fabric and 1 batting, and I'm going to sew along the X and then along that part of the X, and same with this. 1 piece of fabric and the batting, I'm going to sew along that X that I drew. I would pin these 2 together so it doesn't move around on you. I'm just being lazy. Okay, the next step is to use your template and mark off the parts that we're going to cut off. This is going to go like on the edge. You're not going to be able to see this. It'll be on the inside. So I'm going to use a Sharpie because that's what I have. My washable markers are dried out, but I do recommend using washable markers just in case we make a mistake. You can wash it out. But yeah, anything will do, a pen or anything, to mark the edges here to cut off. So that's what I'm going to use. Use your nice fabric scissors to cut these out, and you're cutting through the padding and the fabric on top. Voila! Now, what can you do with these? These little scraps and things could go as stuffing inside a stuffed animal, especially the batting. I think you could pull it apart a little bit and make it fluffier too. And so you'll want to just have like some kind of jar that you keep little scraps and things like this in, because they make good stuffing for like felt ornaments or stuffed animals or anything you want to be poofy. You can just put any little thing in it. I really only keep fabric to use if it's like the size of a dollar bill. That would be acceptable for me to like put in my cabinet to use for a later project that are bigger. This is so small, like I can't really use this on a project except as stuffing. So I'll put it in my stuffing bin for when I need little scraps of things. Okay, so now you're gonna sew these pieces like together so that it's like this little bowl here. So fold it so the right sides are together and line these up. So this is all lined up, and now you want to sew from the outside into the middle part. So I'm going to put it under here, put down my needle, and put down the presser foot here, and I'm going to sew along here, and I'm keeping the edge of the fabric just to the inside of my presser foot there. I'm just going to keep it right on that line there. And sew off of it. Make sure the needle is up when you take this out. And yeah, just like that. I'm also going to do this side, and then I'm going to have to fold it the other way to do the other triangles together. Okay, so now all of those little corners are sewed. And for this, we want, again, the right sides together. So this one is folded correctly. We're going to sew this to this. So now I want to put the wrong side out, the batting out, and put it in here. So then both batting sides are out, and I'm going to pin around the edges here so they're lined up and staying together. And we're going to sew all around it except for a piece. We're not going to sew, that way we can turn it the correct side off after. A tip for pinning, I will put 2 pins together to tell myself this is the gap that I want to leave open when I'm sewing. So I'll start here and I'll sew all the way around the edge, and then when I see 2 pins, I'll stop. Otherwise, I might accidentally sew all the way back to where I started without realizing it. A needle in, presser foot down, and I'm going to sew with the edge of my foot coming to about the edge of the seam, the fabric here. And I'm just gonna, with this hand, I'm gonna guide it to turn. And you can go as slow as you need to so that you stay right on this curve. We want to lift the presser foot and turn in the corners there, and continue here around the edge. Don't forget to just back stitch a little bit at the end and also at the beginning. I think I forgot to tell you that. So now you want to find the gap that you didn't sew. So we sewed all the way around except for this part, and you use that to turn it inside out. And I also check at this stage though that I sewed all of these through, that nothing's pulling out, that all the edges are sewed, there's nothing coming up, because maybe I didn't catch one of these little fabrics, then it would pull out. So I just check right here that I got everything, that it's all good, and then flip it the correct way, right side out. Okay, once you've turned it right side out, then you need to iron it. So you really want to press these seams out. Sometimes I will use a pencil on the inside to like press it out to make sure that it's all out, and iron it. So now when you've got this gap here, you want to fold it under and iron it, press it so that You can now sew these together on top. We're going to do a top stitch all the way around the outside, which means sewing on top instead of on a seam that gets flipped. That keeps it from getting poofy again, keeping it flat, and also will happen to close this hole for us. If you weren't doing some kind of top stitch on a project and you have this hole left when you flip it, say like a pillow, then you would just come in by hand and do a little hidden stitch in here to close the gap. And so there you have it, a bowl koozie. These are so great. Like, you don't realize how much you would use them until you have one. And I kind of stumbled upon them by accident. I was gifted one from somebody from my work, and ever since I have been like, oh, I need more of those. And yeah, so I make a really great gift also, because people don't realize how much they'll use them until they get them. Yeah. Some cute Gilmore Girls fabrics. They paired with different plaids. So yeah. Happy bowl koozie making!